The wind howled through the empty hills like an endless mournful melody, carrying white snow in a fierce storm, battering the windows of the old farmhouse nestled beneath the mountain's shadow. The house, with its weathered wooden walls and loose-tiled roof, trembled under nature's force, as if it, too, bore a profound sense of loss. Inside, Emma Collins, a 9-year-old girl with disheveled brown hair and deep, soulful eyes, lay curled beneath a thick quilt, her gaze fixed on the cracked ceiling. Sleep had become a luxury she could no longer clearly recall, not since that fateful day nearly a year ago, when the biting wind brought news of her parents' car sliding off the ridge road during a night of heavy snowfall. That accident had stolen her mother's laughter, her father's guitar melodies, and left Emma in the care of Grandma Rose, along with an emptiness no words could fill. Grandma Rose, a gaunt woman with silver hair tied tightly in a bun and hands calloused from labor, wasn't one to show affection easily. She loved Emma in her own way, through hot meals, freshly washed blankets, and patient silence. But the farmhouse was now merely an echo chamber, of her father humming lullabies, of her mother calling her from the kitchen, all gone, leaving behind a heavy stillness neither grandmother nor granddaughter could break. Emma often sat by the window, watching the snow fall, imagining the wind might bring her parents back, but they never came. That night, as the storm reached its peak, a strange sound interrupted Emma's thoughts, faint, distant, nearly drowned by the wind, yet distinctly not the howl of nature. It was a low, desperate whimper, a cry from a life fading away. Emma sat up, her heart pounding, and crossed the icy floor on bare feet to press her face against the fogged window. Her breath further clouded the glass, but through the veil of snow illuminated by moonlight she saw it, a dark shape by the fence, a large German shepherd, motionless, its faintly glowing eyes meeting hers. Blood stained the snow, a deep crimson warning. The wind roared louder, but Emma no longer heard it. All she felt was an overwhelming urge. That German shepherd needed her, and somehow, it had come for her too. Without a moment's hesitation, Emma unlatched the door, letting the storm rush in, the frigid air slicing into her skin like a knife. She grabbed her father's old coat hanging on the hook, a coat still faintly carrying the scent of tobacco and pine that he loved, slipped on her boots without socks, and dashed out into the snow. The storm swallowed her instantly, the snow stinging her cheeks and soaking her sleeves, but Emma didn't stop. She drew closer to the German shepherd, seeing it curled up beside the fence, faint wisps of steam rising from its body. "Hey, it's okay," Emma whispered, kneeling beside it, her voice small against the wind. The dog lifted its head, a groan escaping its throat. Blood matted the fur along its side, staining the snow beneath red. One leg twisted unnaturally, its breathing shallow and ragged. Emma took off her coat and draped it over the dog, her hands trembling. It didn't resist, only shivered faintly, gazing at her with deep eyes that seemed to recognize an invisible bond. "You're not dying here," she said, her voice choked with emotion. "Not tonight." With a strength she didn't know she possessed, Emma wrapped her arms around the German shepherd and pulled. It was heavier than she'd imagined, but step by step, through the storm and thick snow, she dragged it back to the farmhouse. Grandma Rose appeared at the door, her wrinkled face etched with astonishment. "Emma Collins, good heavens, it's hurt!" Emma gasped. "It needs help, Grandma!" Seeing the bloodied creature wrapped in her daughter's coat, Grandma Rose said nothing more and swung the door wide open. Together they halted inside, the storm closing behind them, but a new chapter of life and love had just begun. They made a bed near the fireplace, lining it with towels and blankets to support the dog's battered body. Emma named it Shadow, for it followed her like her own shadow, a living shadow that brought warmth amid loss. That first night, Shadow barely moved, drifting through shallow sleep, its breathing uneven, its body twitching with pain. Emma didn't leave its side, sitting beside it with her mother's old storybook, reading aloud in a steady, low voice despite her trembling hands. She wiped the blood from its fur with a warm cloth, mimicking what she'd once seen in a veterinary video her father had shown her online. When Shadow whimpered, she whispered comforting words into its ear. "You're not alone anymore." Grandma Rose brought hot tea, extra towels, and gentle warnings about infection and the danger of growing too attached to a creature that might not survive. But Emma only nodded, her eyes never leaving Shadow. She was determined to keep it alive. The days that followed were a silent battle between recovery and despair. Grandma Rose called Dr. Bennett, the veterinarian, a middle-aged man with salt and pepper hair and weary eyes from late-night emergencies. He arrived in a mud-streaked truck, examined Shadow, and shook his head. "It's badly injured, lost a lot of blood, a broken leg, early signs of infection. But it's still alive, and that's something." He administered antibiotics, bandaged the wounds, and left a bottle of medicine with strict instructions. Emma tended to Shadow tirelessly. She mixed warm water to clean the dried blood, spoon-fed it broth that Grandma Rose prepared, and slept on the floor beside it, her hand resting lightly on its fur to feel its faint breathing. Recovery came slowly but steadily. The swelling in Shadow's leg gradually subsided, its breathing grew more even. One afternoon, as Emma dozed off beside it with the book slipping from her hands, Shadow's cold nose nudged her. She opened her eyes to see it looking up at her, its tail tapping faintly against the floor, the first sign of life returning. From then on, Shadow followed her everywhere around the farmhouse, limping but resolute. It rested its head on her lap as she studied at the old wooden table, pressed close to her at night to keep her warm. Emma told Shadow everything, the clear sound of her mother's laughter when they baked together, the evenings her father taught her guitar by the fireplace, and the emptiness that followed when it all vanished. Shadow listened without blinking, its deep gaze locked on her as if her words were the only sound in the world. Their love grew from small things. She didn't need answers, just presence, and Shadow was always there. That bond went beyond mere affection. Shadow seemed to sense Emma's unspoken needs. It blocked the hallway when she forgot her inhaler, a necessity since she developed asthma after a harsh winter. It paced anxiously around her room on sleepless nights, settling only when she finally closed her eyes. It gently nudged her toward the kitchen just before her blood sugar dropped, a lingering effect of irregular eating after her loss. Grandma Rose noticed, watching from a distance with a mix of surprise and suspicion. "Do you ever think that dog can read your mind?" she asked one morning as Shadow stood guard beside Emma during a prolonged coughing fit, its ears pricked as if anticipating something worse. Emma smiled, bending down to scratch behind its ears. "It just knows, Grandma." But the truth ran deeper than instinct. One chilly afternoon, when Emma played outside too long and suffered a mild asthma attack, Shadow pressed itself against her chest, its weight just enough to ease the tightness in her lungs. Its presence calmed her, slowing her breathing. She didn't understand how, but it worked. That evening, Grandma Rose quietly pulled an old newspaper clipping from a drawer beneath the kitchen table, an article about a military training program for German shepherds, bred and trained to detect medical issues like breathing difficulties, hormonal changes, even neurological stress. In the photo, a puppy with a distinctive gray streak on its ear looked strikingly like Shadow. She didn't mention it to Emma, but the pieces began to fall into place. Shadow wasn't an ordinary German shepherd, it was part of something greater. To Emma, it wasn't just therapy, it was family. Spring arrived, and the snow melted from the hills, revealing patches of stubborn green grass. Emma recovered alongside Shadow, not just physically, but in her soul. She returned to school, no longer the silent shadow at the back of the class. Her laughter rang out again, sometimes loud enough to make the whole class turn and look. Shadow went with her, lying quietly under her desk with its head resting on her shoes. The school made an exception after her pediatrician sent a letter certifying Shadow as a necessary therapeutic aid, but anyone who saw them together understood, it wasn't just comfort, it was confidence, the steady heartbeat of her being. During recess, the other children approached timidly, drawn by Shadow's calm gaze. Emma taught them how to pet it, how to read its signals, and gradually, she opened up, making friends. Grandma Rose watched from the kitchen window, seeing Emma and Shadow race across the yard, a kite trailing behind like a comet's tail. The girls' laughter, once thought lost forever, now echoed through the farmhouse. But that happiness didn't last without challenges. One Wednesday morning, As the scent of spring rain and fresh earth drifted through the window, Emma woke to find Shadow missing from her feet. She slipped out of bed, calling softly, "Shadow?" It lay motionless by the fireplace in the living room, its breathing rapid, shallow, and strained. Its eyes, when they flickered open, were cloudy and unfocused. Panic bloomed in Emma's chest. "Grandma!" she screamed, her voice shattering the silence. Grandma Rose rushed in, already reaching for the phone. Dr. Bennett, the veterinarian, arrived within the hour, examining Shadow with a tense expression. "It's a severe infection," he said. "Likely from an old wound that never fully healed. It's spread sepsis," Emma whispered. "Will it die?" He didn't answer right away, pulling antibiotics from his bag and setting to work. "We'll do everything we can," he said at last. Emma stayed by Shadow's side all night, wrapped in blankets on the floor, whispering through tears stories, memories, and promises. "You can't leave me," she said. "Not you." Shadow didn't respond, but she remained there, because that's what it had done for her, always there when she needed it most. The next day, Shadow's condition didn't improve. It refused food and water, its fever unrelenting. Emma didn't leave its side, her eyes red-rimmed, her hair tangled. Grandma Rose tried to coax her away to rest, but it was futile. Mid-afternoon, a black SUV rolled up the gravel path to the farmhouse. A tall man in a dark coat stepped out, carrying a clipboard and a stern demeanor. He knocked on the door and introduced himself. "I'm Granger, from the Federal Training Program for Medical Service Animals. This German Shepherd matches the profile of a missing canine from our project." He showed a photo, Shadow, younger and smaller, but unmistakable with the gray streak on its ear. "It was trained to detect physiological changes, respiratory, hormonal, neurological, worth millions." Emma's heart pounded. "It's not a project," she said, her voice firm. "It's mine." Granger knelt, his tone softening. "I understand, but it's program property. It'll get the best medical care." Emma shook her head, tears streaming down. "It won't get better if you take it. It needs me." Dr. Bennett stepped forward, arms crossed. "She's right. This dog's bonded with Emma in a way I've never seen. Take it now, and you'll break them both." Grandma Rose added sharply, "You should know there's a little girl here who's already lost too much." Granger hesitated, glancing at Shadow lying weakly on the blanket, then at Emma. "Tell me, what makes it so special to you?" Emma didn't falter. "When my parents died, everything went quiet. I stopped talking, stopped laughing. Then Shadow came. It didn't ask questions, didn't try to fix me. It was just there, knew when I was about to cry, when I couldn't breathe. It lay on my chest, and I could breathe again. It's the only thing that's made me feel alive." Granger nodded slowly. "We trained them to detect stress, breathing issues, but this bond, we didn't create that." He looked at Dr. Bennett. "If I delay the report, note it's too weak to transfer, it buys time." Bennett nodded. "That's the truth." Emma looked up. "You'll let it stay?" "For now," Granger said. "But others may come." Emma gripped Shadow's paw. "I'll fight, as many times as it takes." Granger left, and for the first time in days, Shadow's tail twitched faintly. Months passed, spring melted into summer, and Shadow recovered, though its limp never fully faded. Its coat regained its sheen, its eyes sparkled with life. Emma did too, her lungs clearer, her laughter echoing across the fields. They turned an old shed into a reading nook, filled with pillows and books, where Shadow always lay beside her. Dr. Bennett documented Emma's improvement. Shadow was an irreplaceable therapy. One afternoon on the porch, Emma sketched Shadow, whispering, "You saved me first, remember?" Shadow tilted its head, as if it understood. But the challenges didn't end. One autumn day, as golden leaves blanketed the yard, a group in uniforms arrived, declaring Shadow must return to the training program. "It's national property," they said coldly. Emma stood in front of Shadow, now stronger but still frail from the old infection's aftermath. "It's my family!" she shouted. Grandma Rose, Dr. Bennett, and townsfolk who'd witnessed the love between Emma and Shadow rallied to their defense. A brief legal battle ensued, backed by medical letters and community testimony. In the end, a compromise was reached. Shadow could stay with Emma, recognized as a special case, provided she submitted periodic health reports. Winter returned, the wind howling through the hills once more, but this time, the farmhouse wasn't cold. Emma and Shadow sat by the fireplace, her telling stories, it listening. Grandma Rose smiled from her armchair, knowing loss had been replaced by love and life. Whatever the future held, Emma knew Shadow would be by her side, a shadow that never left, a therapy for her soul, and above all, proof that bonds can heal any wound.